Right. Okay, Town of Groton Planning Commission special meeting. It's called. Let's have a roll call. Let's see, Hal. Here. Jeff. Here. Michael. That's it. Hey, Steve. Here. Kevin. Here. Lauren. Here. Clint. See him up there. Okay, I guess, so the short one, Kevin, you mind sitting? Michael? Second, item, we did receive some public communication. We'll receive. Okay. The sound of a stream. Oh, you both do the public communications, so if we're ready to go, new business, how would you like to start? Whatever process, it's a lengthy package.
Okay, so tonight we have some folks from each from Woodland to kind of go through two different aspects of two different projects. One a little bit on outreach engagement, the other one for the POCD. So I think we're going to start with the outreach engagement first. I'll hand it over to Jeff.
Thank you all. So I'm joined today by my colleague Joanna, who's going to be helping take notes and make sure that we record everything this evening, obviously, as well as the actual recording. So huge thanks to you for doing that tonight. So as John said, we have a number of things, as you know, on the agenda. We'll try to be as efficient as possible. The first piece is something that OPDS has been working on to try to improve community engagement practices throughout the department and throughout the boards and commissions that helps staff. So we are doing a series of conversations like this with ourselves, with the EDC and with the Conservation Commission. So we met with EDC last month. We're meeting with the Conservation Commission next week. And really the hope is to get a better sense of how you engage with the public today, and how we can improve that moving forward. Also a little bit about strategic planning group. How easy or difficult has it been to get new members for the board, and how do we make sure that we have a bench of people who can continue serving in these roles into the future, when, you know, we all decide, I have other things I want to do with my life, right? We have to have people waiting in the wings to step in. After that, we want to talk very briefly, give you an update on a number of documents that have recently been released related to the Plan of Conservation and Development. I believe all of those will be up online tomorrow-ish once Lauren is back from vacation. And we want to spend a good chunk of our time reviewing the draft outline for the POCD, including the vision statement and goal statements, and how the various topics are structured throughout the plan. Really want to hear your big picture feedback on that, if we're on the right track, if we're missing things, so that our team can then go back and start drafting. So we're at the point now where we've done a lot of community outreach, we've done a lot of engagement and research, and now is the time where we start providing content for the plan. And so at the end, we'll discuss what we expect our schedule will be for meeting with you. We plan to meet with you monthly throughout the fall and into the early part of the year until we get you a draft plan. So with that, without further ado, I will dive into some of these questions, and Sean and Deb try to keep me honest on time, and I'll keep a little bit clock as well. So wanted to start out with a basic question, which is why did each of you personally decide to get involved in this commission? What attracted you to the position in the first place, and why are you still here? What inspires you to keep serving your community in this capacity? And I'll let anyone dive in.
Want me to start?
Go for it.
I guess I traveled a good deal when I was working.
Hmm.
And when it came to seeing a lot of different areas, 9 times out of 10, I wasn't impressed in certain areas.
Mm.
And I was like, why did they do that? You know, and because I was living here 40 plus years now, I just had to say, you know, can I be a part of making sure that bad things don't happen to my town?
Sure.
Yeah, and examples. I guess one example was, I think I was Port News, Virginia. And I know it's an old town and stuff, but you know, they just had houses and then, you know, car dealerships and then more houses and then, no, it just seemed like there was absolutely zero control.
Mm.
So that was one of my initial thoughts.
Try to make it a good place that makes sense.
Mine's kind of probably much more straightforward because I had some planning training way back in college and I was last decade of my 20 years at Subbase. I was in planning and facilities.
Okay.
Architecture and was head of the facilities there, so the design. And so this is just a transition for me. It just made perfect sense and it got me through retirement. Not suicidal. So nothing to do with anything, just rolled right in very nicely.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like Steve, in a way, I traveled a lot. I travel a lot internationally. And I was fascinated first with the growth of the cities. I studied that history a lot and how these things really came to be and what worked, what needed back then. And then seeing the difference in European type cities versus the US, where sometimes you could be dropped anywhere and you don't know where you are because there's nothing distinguishable. You know, you see the same store, big stores. That was a few years ago, not so much maybe now, but you certainly can see more cookie cutter type things. But I thought it was, I was interested, of course, like Steve, I guess, first in the zoning part of this. I thought it might be a chance to do. I enjoyed reading these sorts of legal type documents, but a chance really to make a difference too, hopefully for the betterment of the community.
Jeff's mouth's full.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should.
I can't remember exactly how I got involved because I was on the planning commission.
Right.
I think somebody in the town asked me if I could serve on the commission where there was a vacancy. I was on the planning commission a long time until zoning commission was dissolved. And
Right.
merged and given for planning commission. I found actually that zoning, while it's a little more difficult to handle, it gets emotional, is more interesting than just the planning.
Okay.
So, for me, it was first to give back a lot, even though I've lived here 30 plus years. Most of my work in the last 20 plus years have been in Washington, DC, working for big international corporations where, like Sue and Steve, I travel a lot and very impressed by communities such as Paris that has high density. And then you get outside 20 minutes and you have farms.
Right.
And what I saw in working in Washington, DC and the Northern Virginia area was a sprawl that started and now goes from Portland, Maine, in my words, to Richmond, Virginia. And I felt we had a backwater here. And while I'm extremely pro-commerce, I'm also for responsible development. So I felt that there was a good balance of what I had worked with and for in the past to bring hopefully those type of talents to planning. So
I think my interest in planning came, I used to work for an oyster farm in a historic neighborhood in New Haven.
Oh.
They had a very large piece of property there where they kept this giant shell mound in, and we were attempting to build out a hatchery there while still being very conscious to the the buildings on site that were part of the historic registry, and of course the row houses that were right across. And so throughout that, other pieces of just working along the waterfront, you become very, very aware of how the built environment shapes people and history and communities. And as some of my science background came in, seemed a little bit like the ecology of your built environment and how that your happiness, right?
Sure.
How you interact with your family, the types of friendships and careers and consuming patterns that you have. A lot of it comes down to where you live. And even as much as we talk about how global society has become, it's still very much about the 15-minute kind of boundaries that you live in. And so when we bought a house here in Groton, 2019, walking around with your new baby, and you start to notice certain things that you never did as a single adult. It just really fascinated. I got involved in local government, eventually ended up here.
Great. Thank you all. I think that's a good primer to why people get and stay involved in a local government and serve in this capacity. Next question, and from here on out, don't feel like everyone has to answer every question, but obviously, answer as you please. Would love to know how do you personally find or you as a body learn about what's happening in the town? How do you keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on and how people are feeling in the community?
You want to go in reverse order?
Yeah.
So I'm on a distribution list for the town council, basically planning and zoning. And so I just check that pretty much weekly on what they're looking at. Same thing with the RTM. I don't really use social media like Facebook. So otherwise it's just talking to folks who are more in the know than I am. And then you dig in a little bit.
Office goes, so I just hear it because I'm a pretty big extrovert. We're very involved in town. I used to run a foundation called Go Fish Foundation. So I knew a lot of the people I say were on the docks and particularly Noank, et cetera. My wife's town pediatrician. Everyone knows us. Not always good. We don't get invited to as many Christmas parties because she has too much knowledge. But we know a lot of people, and I grew up in Ledyard, and I still continue to drive organizations there for collaboration, including a very successful golf tournament just 2 days ago where I'm kind of crazed.
Oh, awesome.
But I hear from everyone. I'm talking to everyone. But at the same time, I felt that I wasn't as in tune as I should have been. And I'm hopefully working toward a great collaboration with some of the other political organizations in town, including town council, et cetera, and town managers. So we end up at a better point than we have been, in past years. And I think it's very important to Groton to continue that collaboration. So.
Yeah, just rely on input from the various people on the Republican Town Committee, so you get some input on that function, and then what's published on the day.
Sure.
It's in the regional section.
Me too with the.
Yeah.
There's some of the comments are pretty funny. But also, I'd like to be involved in, I guess, some of the bigger, like the Bluff Point just had a big study done and everything like that. In that organization and all those sessions, it was quite interesting and, well, I guess a lot more words than they were expecting because they only had a small box you're supposed to type in your response. And I said, where can I attach my file? But anyway, I think Bluff Point is so important for Groton, really, and also the region, and a key place for a lot of reasons, the recreation. We talk about that's a winner of a place. So I try to have a variety of inputs. I like to talk with people who are really from different type, whatever situation, and have different experience and not necessarily in Groton, so you learn a lot.
Honestly, a decent percentage I get from looking at the stuff, I get set for these meetings.
Okay.
That is probably the second most thing I get, and way up there. So that's maybe one way to keep in contact is because I'm on this, which is links basically. To get into more detail, the next door website
Oh, sure.
has
Yeah.
been tremendously valuable.
Hmm.
People feel it's a safe thing. There's not a lot of ranting.
Right.
Same place that people are selling a bicycle, there's people talking about why is there another gas station or something like that. It's a good conversation. So some that I can chime in, so because I'm on here, I don't want to chime in too much.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
I think it's actually that kind of a little input. It's probably been 80% of my stuff in the day.
And I'll say a little sprinkle of every one of those.
Um, so that's how you get general information about what's going on in the community. What are some ways that you get feedback about the decisions that you make as a board? Obviously, you have people who come to meetings. Thank you so much for coming to the meeting, but about the people who are watching online. But what are some ways that you connect with the public specific to the work that you do here? And what are the most common things that you're hearing in the community?
Well, for me, every time a subject like a hot button subject like short-term rentals or
Yeah.
something comes up, you end up bringing that conversation up with, a dozen people, and start hearing it,
Mhm.
what the pros, cons and all that stuff. And I didn't know if your question was related to after a decision has been made or just about a subject in general, but either way, sometimes you hear it after the fact too.
Sure. When people are upset.
And, I know, why did they do this? Why did they do that? And it's like, hey, and you try to explain to people, AKA car washes, why did you approve that? So, well, we just kind of didn't approve it as much as we allowed, it to happen in an area that's allowed. Right.
Zoning allows it. Yeah.
Those three guys didn't talk to each other, in my opinion, right? They didn't know what the other two guys were doing, in my opinion,
Oh,
Had been a market study somewhere and,
and they all read the same one.
yeah.
You mean the one
At
that
the
was
same time.
the kind of saying that we have high card dependency wants for retail spaces?
Could've been it.
That one?
So of course, with your zoning hats on, right, that's more regulatory and you're making interpretations of law. And that's not intended to be subjective. But when you're doing your planning work, like we're doing with the POCD and you're looking for input from the community, I guess, what kind of input are you hearing in your lives and where does that happen? And what could we maybe do to be more proactive about that? Are there certain places you feel you aren't hearing from or you're having difficulty making connections with certain neighborhoods prior to making these decisions as a group?
Yeah, I think we really don't hear enough from communities of color. I don't think we hear enough of communities with disabilities. I have a disabled brother and was formerly very involved in that community. I really don't see a lot of inputs about accessibility, attractions, retail options that would be beneficial for them, transportation modes specifically geared for those folks. I don't really hear a lot specifically about families. I think we get I would say, an overrepresentation of certain neighborhoods that are wealthier homeowners, highly educated, retired. And that's just, that's a time gap, right? That's an attention gap. You can only have so many things on your mind on a given day. And I don't know what any one correct solution to that is because everyone's fighting for everyone's attention. And so it's a prioritization thing, I guess, maybe a messaging thing. I think we need to really focus on getting to people where they are. I think that just directly to their doors, even if that's quarterly newsletters about here's all the lists of developments that we just approved.
Oh.
And I know that's a budget item, right? But I guess you gotta choose to invest in that kind of communication. And some level, it's not just about going to different cafes around town or libraries. I think there actually has to be a monetary investment in letting people know that you're trying to reach them and hear them. So like when,
Other people to answer that, but I want to add to what
Sure.
you're saying. I would love to hear what you think your role as a body is in as being part of that proactive engagement versus what staff might do. So as you continue to monitor this question, I would love your thoughts on that as well.
so I mean, given young mother, I am in different communities that, and I bring it up all the time, like, hey, did you hear about that? Or, oh, we were over your house. I noticed that, this was happening, there's all these kind of like rundown houses. Have you talked to anyone in the town about like blight complaints? Are you worried about rodents? Or sometimes they bring it up to me because they know I'm involved, even if they don't know exactly how I'm involved. Like at the skate park, right? A lot of those guys will just come and start asking questions, and then you give them little 101 primer on what's going on and how it works and
Great.
why we have so many car washes in town. And so, yeah, kind of like that. I think Hal alluded to it. It's kind of hard to, you don't want to put the commission or yourself in a position by being too forthright about opinions on something that could happen or is happening necessarily.
Well, one thing, I think we certainly, the public input we get, whether it was a short-term rentals one, the girls' school, that, I think the numbers that we hear from is really, it's really good. People obviously feel free to go on Zoom or wherever, express their opinions, and I think that's really helpful. I know sometimes it's made a difference. It certainly makes you, all of a sudden, then you can really see somebody else's point of view that lives there. Like, my hairdresser lives next to the Spicer Mansion, right? So I heard a boatload of that. And of course, who you talk to for the hairdresser. But it's like, not just that, but I would say, I think, unfortunately, I think we're really isolated. I mean, the modern culture is very much that way. Sometimes the neighborhoods are that way. I've had different houses, and just I think back at how many neighbors I knew at each one of these places. And there's some real differences in whether or not it's a sociable type place or a place where people are comfortable, spending time. I'm fortunate that a lot of people go by my house when I'm out gardening or something. So it's a good chance to meet a lot of people, but a lot of them do tend to be from the same neighborhood. Since they close the gate, so you can't like through our neighborhood. Yeah, that used to be a great big thing. But I wish there was some way, I don't know how to do it. It's not my specialty at all, but it'd be really nice if we had some way of getting better input. I mean, I think your session was really good because you had people there that we wouldn't really hear from.
Yeah.
And they had stories to tell for sure. I thought that was really valuable. That sort of thing. Maybe topical. People that are really involved and are seeing things that we would never see.
Yeah, I think staff has been attempting that with the community conversations, with the focus groups we've been working on. What additional type of information or communication with the public would help you make better decisions, or would help you make feel more confident in the decisions you're making as a group? Do you have any requests of staff that would make that easier or more effective?
I'll start there. So hopefully I've provided some positive comments in the past. So I think what our planning and zoning staff does extremely well in Groton is it provides the type of meetings that we have are extremely well shrink wrapped. It gives you the ability to make decisions, I think, very well. They did a great job in taking the inputs, and I'm just taking from fire chiefs and everyone else, and they wrap that extremely well. And that's why I'm very energized by the plan of conservation development, because I really believe as a hard-nosed business guy, 10 years ago we didn't do the right job here. We made this very amorphic document without the ability to execute on certain things. We're now rating it 10 years down the road. My belief is, when I've rated in the past, I wrote a very large framework that was used in the world for cybersecurity. You have to look, and I know we're not putting extra burden on John and Deb and their staff. But we need to look much more frequently with a better cadence as far as judging ourselves how well we do. And I think that's something that I think that POCD will drive more than anything else. But I also think, I work with a corporation that only the paranoid survive. It's a very tough, contentious organization. And I think Groton has some of that tenacity that we need to utilize to be, in my opinion, for instance, on affordable housing. Because we talk about these stupid car washes all the time, right?
Yes.
It's topic du jour. Okay, great. Let's talk about why aren't we, because we're already above the line in affordable housing, why haven't we taken a much more aggressive approach as a group with, John Reiner's staff? And as we move past this POCD, why don't we say, we set, a United States benchmark in some ways by going after affordable housing, which matches the demographic and
Sure.
so I'd love to be able to do something like that. And it's not easy. It's
No.
very difficult.
It's not.
With regard to other input, there's two parts. One is I don't know how to get it too much because the one unique thing about everybody in this room, including other people in this room and people online, we all think things can change. We all think we can control stuff. Everyone is in agreement with the group that says, yep, if you don't like it, speak up, do a change. As with all the other commissions in place. A huge amount of the population just lives with it. It's just a cut. It's one of those things that I realized when I got here. First, I really thought be here, and I was so aware of it with working with the Navy, where they would say, "Well, it's just the Navy for you." The answer was, "No, it's us. We can everything. Captain, you can just say something, and it will change what you want to change." Oh, that's the admiral's business. I mean, there's always got somebody higher says, "No, it's just the way it is." So when you have this kind of a group or the other commissions, that might be the one thing. The reason we're here is to add different value judgments to things that are in front of us. We're just a board of people, not supposed to be super experts, just a board of people. And maybe we already have a decent crosscut or a better crosscut if you add up all the other commissions. I was kind of seeing it when you did those workshops with all these other groups together. Those were incredibly valuable. And we did get to see and hear from people we normally wouldn't because we were forced to be together. And that was great. That was probably the best we might be able to do because you're just not going to get a larger percentage of people out there in the community because they're accustomed to just living with whatever it is. They might react to something. How dare you put another car wash in? Oh, wait a minute, the two car washes are 50 years old and haven't been improved ever. Well, oh yeah, but they were there because of the things that are there. It's only groups like not just ours, but conservation, everybody else who say, no, we can adjust to it. We can make the changes. And so I think having more opportunities to talk to each other.
Sure.
Might be one of the best things we're going to get.
That's a great point.
We kind of started to lead onto it with the get towards it with the town-owned property use committee that we're trying to do,
Yes.
which was to have a super group
Yes.
and regularly meet the super group. And that's something forum like that would be probably be useful, just even if we don't have a particular goal in mind, just to get to actually talk about things.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Recently read a lovely little book called Meet Me at the Library that discussed all different types of public engagement and ways to present a problem to get people engaged. So just I read those kinds of things in general to try to come up with ideas to do this and including they called it Civic Saturdays, I believe, and it was a little bit like the community conversations, but instead of having it in a room off to a side, it was putting yourself right in the middle of the library where you're just having that conversation and inviting people, kind of putting yourself in front of them, whether or not they like it, but hopefully you do it in a way that's not off-putting. But I thought that was a really great idea. Other things that I've joked about with other friends that are my age and in planning is, a risk style game where you lay a map out of Groton And you start, I guess, less risk, more maybe light for monopoly. You start putting your little pieces, I want to put hotels here and houses here. And, you know, if it was a blank slate, what would you do with it? Kind of more creative exercises like that, I think would be really interesting, really engaging, especially bringing in like teenagers. I think that would be really great. Getting, the library does run robust teen programming. And so even children, like I do the Cub Scouts thing, and even the 6-year-olds would be absolutely capable of that.
Oh.
Give them a blank map to draw their own kingdom. It's really interesting the things that they start to pick up on in the clusters of what they want. Conversations that I often have with people are, I really miss college. Well, what do you miss about college? Well, I miss just being able to walk over to my buddy's place. I miss not having to get in a car to go get food. Oh, so you want a walkable downtown environment that's dense and has these, so just different ways of reframing what people like already. Same thing with Disneyland, right? That's what people like about Disneyland is it's walkable, it's
Yep.
clean, there's a trash can every
Car
5
free
feet. Yeah,
space,
speed.
largely.
Taking what do you like already and how do we make it happen? Like Hal said, it can change, it's possible. You just have to be willing to imagine it and do it. You have to have that leadership impetus.
And to your point, I just wanted to make sure this group was aware, one of the things that we're working on with staff is a series of short YouTube videos to hopefully educate people about how government works in Groton and how to get involved. So whether that be coming to one of these meetings, whether it be wanting to join a board or commission or the RTM, and understanding the differences between what if I lived in Groton City, what if I live in Noank. And so we're hoping to have that as a tool to spread the word, and hopefully, maybe there are some more we can unlock some people who are currently letting fatalistic and showing that you can make a difference, and here's how.
Well, how are you gonna jazz that up though, so people are interested?
Well, that's a great question. So yeah, your very talented staff at Groton TV are gonna help us put together something that's gonna be.
Brad Pitt is starring.
Brad Pitt is starring. Yeah, he's volunteering his time. So-
Michael Murray comes to shoot films here.
Does he really?
Hallmark.
Oh, okay. So we're about at the end of our time for this conversation. Thank you. And I think this is something, again, that we want to be ongoing. We want to try to have more of these joint conversations with other boards and commissions. But I did want to spend a little bit of time talking about two things. One, you talked about you not being on social media, and God bless you for that. There is a lot of chatter on social media. It can be sometimes a very useful thing, and it can sometimes be a negative thing. It can be hard to cut through the noise and share facts with the public. I just want to see, have any of you encountered that? And is there anything that you think we can be doing to, again, get through the noise and make sure that the facts about what you're doing are
Good, make something for social media. I mean, I think some of us, we have stopped using some of the tools, but there's other tools. And it's really a personal preference of it. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could at least try, see what's successful. I mean, I find sometimes YouTube videos are just, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
You just don't know, it depends what you're looking for, but the well-made YouTube video, very educational, it keeps you engaged and looking at it, and it's not too long.
Yeah.
So, but some people, they're still Facebook for sure. I don't know, Facebook page, what's happening because I think a lot of people think it's not too interesting being on commissions and stuff like that, but
Oh, yeah.
I think this one's just
I think say,
interesting.
about with like Facebook, our kids wouldn't think of looking at.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. That's right.
So part of the thing might be limiting when you say, well, you look at Facebook, you look at, you might need to ask a 17-year-old, sure,
Uh-huh.
because
Yep.
there's a whole bunch of things that my 30-year-old kid doesn't even look at. Because they only on Facebook because I posted something, Jill looked at something.
That's right.
So I think we need to go deeper and maybe not be afraid of whichever program you use there'll be people chiming in with idiotic comments.
Sure.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you don't need to respond to all of them, let them go by. Because they're so much easier anonymously to post a negative comment. But the only response might be, here's the facts that I didn't say in the written news, and call it a day.
Yeah.
Or to stop comments quickly.
Sure.
And still show up on people's feeds, so that's the thing to do. But I can't, I don't know the programs that are looked at.
Can I just clarify? Okay, so are you saying that you feel that potentially a more forward-looking approach with social media is needed for Groton?
It's more, not so much a forward-looking approach, but, you know, and this is not unique to Groton at all, but there can be a lot of misinformation.
Right.
And, you know, if you're trying to use social media as a platform for getting, you know, good information out to the public that they can trust, what ways, some ways that you can do that. So I think, you know, to Hal's point, making sure that if you see things that are not factual, you know, shutting that down, sharing the facts, you know, ignoring the comments that go off the rails. And, you know, part of that is up to all of you when you are, you know, talking to people in the community one-on-one. You know, it's so much easier to trust someone when you're looking them in the eye and hearing it straight from each other in the community. Just a few ways to think about not letting social media derail the good work that you do.
I think what I've noticed, and when I did have to use social media for like work and stuff, the things that really mattered were like the privacy effect. You got to be ahead of whatever is about to happen. You don't want to be, if you want to lead the conversation, you have to be the first source of information out there.
Yeah.
Volume of content, especially with the way that algorithms work nowadays, and different types of content, infographics, short form videos, obviously are rotting everyone's brains, but
Yes.
you know, also be really careful about using legacy media, just because the more reliable the news source it is, the more it's behind a paywall, and therefore people won't bother to read it or try to get another copy or go anywhere else. I find that very often with the day, myself included. Like I said, I no longer have a subscription, so a lot of times people will try to send me articles, and specifically they want me to read the comment section. I do hear it's quite a blast.
Oh, sure.
It's all behind a paywall. So
Okay.
whatever kind of dialogue is happening down in the day comments, which you find out coming to public comment after the fact, I don't know about it. So making sure that whatever dialogue is happening, turning comments off is very tempting, but at least it's a space that you can watch it happen, even if you don't want to interact with it, which usually my preference, but some of those things.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to have that conversation. Again, this is not meant to be a one and done, but just to introduce these ideas. I think it's a good thing to think about. And again, we hope to host additional joint meetings in the future. So with that, moving on, I just want to give a very brief update on where we are with the baseline report and a number of other takeaways and summaries from the work that we've done to date on the POCD. As I mentioned, Lauren is back from vacation tomorrow, and so a lot of this will be posted online. The baseline report is finished with the exception of the existing land use map. We're making some additional changes to that. Basically, nutshell, we're basing that on your assessor's data rather than state data, which is what the 2016 plan used, and it's taking some time to clean that up to make them as close to apples to apples as possible. But otherwise, that baseline report is finished. That'll be up hopefully later this week. You'll also see a number of summaries from all the engagement work we've done to date. So a summary of all the focus groups, a summary of the open house results, a summary of the information from the virtual open house online survey. Did want to continue to give you updates on demographics for who we are hearing from when it came to the open house and the virtual open house. Again, we're noting participants tend to be older, whiter, wealthier, better educated, more likely to live in Mystic than the average person in Groton. So we know that continues to be the case. And again, that does not invalidate in any way the feedback we're getting. It just means that me and my team know that we're also going to have to go back and look at the notes from the focus groups, from the interviews, and keep reminders of what we've heard from the people that have not responded to those surveys. So again, not scientific, just to check the pulse and understand who we're hearing from and who we're not hearing from. As you review any of those materials, if you have questions or concerns or ideas, please share them with Deb. She will compile and send that to our team. And we will continue to make adjustments. But my team is going to be using all that information as we start drafting the plan. Any major questions about any of those things at this time? Otherwise, I would like to spend the bulk of the rest of our time talking about the outline.
And we'll be starting on.
What page am I starting on? Of
Not really
the-
page 63.
Thank you.
All there's 61.
61. Losing my edge.
Yeah, it is an enormous packet.
That's okay.
So how I would love to talk about this today. So again, we've got before you a draft framework. And how we created this framework, we were thinking about, okay, what were the themes that we kept hearing over and over and over again? And how can we put them into chapters that make sense, hopefully that will resonate with the public and see what they've said so far reflected in this. We start with a vision statement, 3 overarching goals, and then we have 6 chapters, each chapter with its own goal statement. So what I'm hoping to do this evening is for each one of those things, talk about, does this resonate for you? Does it feel like Groton? Are there any major themes you feel are missing? Or any major themes that should be more prominent than they already are? If you have, again, specific text ideas, send them to Deb, but for tonight, we want to understand if we're on target.
Thing we ought to do is understand what the purpose of the document is in one sentence.
In one sentence. Okay.
I'm serious.
The elevator
Because
conversation.
this is a lot of BS,
Okay,
ready for the shredder. And inaccurate information,
inaccurate.
yes.
What was inaccurate, Jeff?
Well, when you talk about architectural, agricultural areas in the town, I only know of one.
I can name 5.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
some.
small,
Sure.
not significant.
I would
Okay.
disagree with that.
But no, not that they to be ignored, but they're not a major.
I would disagree insofar as if this is a forward-looking document, I think now more than
It's not
ever,
a forward-looking document.
it's a 10-year document
Document that's trying to lead something
forward, yeah.
that we can do within a 10-year period. But we can control it, but we can't lead it or make it happen. Because it relies on people investing money in the town. And we talk about growth. This town has not really grown it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of development.
They're probably, yeah,
Mhm.
good point. I know you,
And-
maybe agree to disagree
Mm.
with some of these things.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not right and wrong.
No, but I share your point on the vision statement, I get, and I'll let you continue, but just to say that that's I think it's really too long. I had difficulty concentrating for the whole thing, and I think more succinct, and you've got some great points here. And I guess just one other thing I thought that wasn't included, I think the Native American piece in here, Pequot War, potential as a tourist site, let alone the Gunjiwamp and all that. I think it'd be good you know, to reference it somewhere. I just didn't really see it in the document. Maybe I missed it. But so those are two things here on this page. I think for me was the vision statement. Shorten that up, make it more concise, so people will be grabbed by it to read it. And then somehow in the document, we need to also talk about the people who were here before us. I remember the last P O C D 2016, they started with colonial history, so at least you haven't done that. So,
No, but the history of at least maybe the last 50 years or 100
Mm.
years is important. to know.
oh, sure.
But that was the
Of
baseline.
my regard.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the national report,
That's what
you're-
it's not the vision statement.
Right,
No,
it's
no,
not the
that's not the- talking about it. I'm saying what goes in after the, I wouldn't call it a vision. It's a. What's the document, objective of this document? And I don't think that's understood.
Is it possible that the structure, I mean, I've seen a lot of vision statements that are, well, we have to have a vision statement, so therefore here it is.
And you actually don't have to have.
And you don't have to have one.
So if you hate this, we can strike it.
And I think maybe we do have to have one. So what was the point of this? The point, he says, what's the point of it? And the vision statement said, this is the point. And is it possible to structure it the way old newspapers structure, which was mean, here's the headline. And then there's a one sentence explanation of that. And there's a 4 sentence explanation of it.
Sure.
And then the body of it goes underneath that in diminishing importance. So that you can drill down as far as you need to for it to be important and then move on.
And so a vision, I mean, there's two things are going on. What you're asking for is a statement of purpose of what is a P O C D. And,
Right.
you know, that's in there, that's in there. We have existing language for explaining what a P O C D is. So purpose of a vision statement is, okay, looking 10 years into the future, what you want to be different? How do you want the town to feel? What aspects of the community are we celebrating or changing? And again, my personal feelings are vision statements are really hard to capture without sounding generic or a little cheesy. That boil it down in one sentence. So
The vision, we're talking, what's the purpose?
So that's a purpose statement.
yeah, and that would be a different thing.
Meaning.
And some of that, when you look at, right, sorry to jump in for a second. When you look at this, right now, it's an outline. So there's an introduction. What is Groton 2035?
Right.
There's nothing under it. What are the components? Some of that will be filled in. a little
Exactly.
bit, talking about what the purpose will be. So
Mm.
what we're trying to get some feedback on right now is this general outline. Jeff did put together a vision statement. We'd asked him to start crafting something, so we have some feet to it. But, really, we want to get some feedback initially on the structure of this outline, knowing there's a lot more than, the document's gonna be more than, 7 pages, which is right now it's outlining. I think, you know, Jeff, you're spot on.
Pages would be good.
Yeah, you know, we need to say, what is the purpose of this in a clear, concise way so people actually care.
Well, we should be addressing also what are the constraints. Too. You know, like there's some physical constraints being next to the coast. You know, we really restrict transportation back and forth, which is very important. The history, what are the 3 major employers in the town? And it's tough to get other people. Why would anybody else move here to set up a business? Those types of things are important to understand.
And I think some of that is addressed in the basic.
Baseline, absolutely.
No, we gotta be careful with thinking about that before you get it. And I noticed one other thing that's on is the information you're getting from other commissions. You don't have Parks and Rec in there. And yet, right now, there's a lot of discussion over no parks in Lawrence neighborhood. No, I mean, that came out at a council meeting a couple of weeks ago,
Sure. And
which I was never.
we've all reviewed the existing Parks and Recreation plan and Yeah,
No, but it maybe it's not right, or
Yeah.
there's a problem with it, has to be redone.
Yeah, but I think that's some of the filler that'll come in. Right now, I think we're keeping it at the 10,000 foot.
Right.
We like the headers, and to that end, I will say that I appreciate that a lot of the language in here is very human focused, right? We're not just talking about land in the abstract or development or businesses in the abstract. It's how do people interact with this land?
exactly.
With these types of development. So I appreciate very much the language in there that is keeping it people oriented. I really do like the way it's structured in terms of breaking it up into, of course, the human functions within the land, right?
Mhm.
What am I doing for play? What am I doing for work? What am I doing to meet my essential needs? And of course, looking again, a place to last, where we'll bring in, I assume, once we fill it out a little bit more, those conservation elements, but something that I'd really be interested to see, implementation sections under each of the headers.
Sure.
It's kind of hit or miss, but I don't know if that's just, in general, just making sure that every single section we have an implementation, section, so that we're making sure that, we talk a lot about, this document, this go around, ensuring that there's responsibility for the goals that we set out to make sure that we can actually achieve them. So I think that that's important, but, design standards, I know it's not specific to this document, but something that maybe, we would want to start putting out there as a goal is, creating that sense of place. That is a comment that we get often. It's, Groton,
I think that's in there for multifamily or the apartment type thing. 'Cause
Right,
the
right.
Apartments kind of slip under. But some of the apartments have also, I think, had pretty good design standards actually, so.
nah,
But it is something.
That's one of the things we were trying to figure out where that would land, and I was struggling. with
Yeah.
that. I think it ended up in chapter 5 currently.
I think we need more design standards for more sections of town. Right now, there's kind of only 2 areas that we
Right.
really focus in on design, but
That may
in the
be-
areas that are experiencing very rapid development, it looks like a hodgepodge, and I am concerned about what it's going to look like in 2030. We're gonna have a little gray boots warehouse.
Yeah, we heard a lot about that in the context of your commercial corridors. That's one thing that's at the top of a lot of people's mind, is the design of your commercial corridors. So that was one of those that definitely rose to the top for us. But to your point, I mean, I'll just start by walking you through our initial logic. So yes, chapter 1, we really tried to think about, okay, what have we heard most from the public? And it was meeting. Oh, go ahead.
Before you get there, how about the chapter goals?
Okay,
I mean, isn't this kind of fundamental to the whole thing too?
of course.
Oh, okay. I just, I thought it was good, the way you laid it out and everything, even though when you start with people, ensure that all Groton residents, families, individuals, seniors, and military affiliated households have access to safe, affordable housing, essential community services, and reliable, equitable transportation. So my comment to that was, that's possible. But, I think it's good to say that.
Mhm.
Maybe not exactly in that way,
Okay.
but I think you're covering a lot of the hot topics for a lot of people. Even the people who have good jobs here that see half of their take home go to their rent. Or some people think the taxes are too high or whatever, but yeah, the people orientation I thought was very good. And adding on the fact that they should have access to safe, affordable housing, and that's a great goal. And essential community services and so on. So I don't know if anybody else has anything on these topics or it's just.
I was actually back up and say, I do think I like
Uh-huh.
the direction of starting out with what is this
Yeah.
plan? Okay. Well, I'm not crazy about question marks, but I'm okay with the plan. What are the components of the plan?
Mm.
Plan components.
Yeah.
It's a statement, it's not a question.
Sure.
Please. And then that's the right place for it. And navigation of this, how to use is the next, not navigate the plan question mark.
Okay.
That's cute, but people who are reading this are technical. We want developers to be reading this. Homeowners aren't reading this. So
Well, remember, our goal is to have a main body of the document that is accessible to a lot of people and not just developers or technical people.
I get that.
Well, it's accessible, but how many people really care about it or want to know about it.
We
That be
we want more
a
people to care about it, though, right?
Is this document?
We want people to care about it.
Yeah,
right?
we want more people to care about it than care about it currently.
That's right.
I think.
That was one of the goals that you brought to us, so.
No, but if you talk to the average person, they aren't interested. It's only the outcome.
And we can change that.
Right.
No, you're not gonna change.
I'm certainly gonna try, Jeff.
I mean, I don't think people are interested.
I
They're
think,
Worried about what are they going to tonight?
I think they're
Whatever.
oblivious and they can be educated and they can become excited.
I think,
Oh, they can.
I think people are interested, they just don't know it exists.
Yes.
Oh,
Right.
There's something that looked like a master plan. I say a master plan,
Mm.
not a zoning map, but a master plan. A real master plan, not a site plan.
Okay.
Right? You know what that is? Showed up in the day.
Mhm.
Here's town plan master plan. Here's where we think
Yeah.
these things going. We got 1,000 comments.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah,
They show their team.
absolutely.
And people would care.
People-
They-
people care.
And they would care. So it's the kind of thing that we got full, and maybe that kind of illustration. And that's the kind of thing that would be put out.
It's the kind of outreach where I would be going to realtors with like maybe a Reader's Digest version of this and say, show this to your clients, let them know what we're about, see if this is the kind of community they want to be in, right? That's the kind of document I envision is, we're talking about building all of these units for these prospective residents. Well, we want to let them know who we are, right? As much as we accept that they'll change us too as they come in, but who we are going, outward and where we want to be. I think that's important because a lot of folks pick a place to live and they go, oh, this wasn't what I thought it would be, especially when there's no bars to go to at 30 years old in this town, unless you're going down to Mystic and you're fighting for a parking spot. You can't run over going through the crosswalks, right? There's nothing to do here, right? And that's something that our large employers struggle with. You can throw as much money as you want at people. They're not gonna stay in a place where they're bored, where they can't raise a family because there's no single family homes around,
I
right?
think to Jeff's point is that we can't build the bar,
We can't build the
Yeah,
bar.
but we can tell where we think the bars would be.
Exactly.
And it would be a blob that would say restaurant or bar. That's this future restaurant
Right.
bar.
And if I had something from my realtor that told me this place isn't building bars, if I was a bar going person, which we're not, that would be, something that interested me. If I was a hiking outdoor naturey person, I see, oh my God, 30% open space and they have this, and this, and this. Wow, that's something I really want to be part of this community. Yeah. So I think there's ways to make people care.
Yeah, so I think we're partly telling that story, and that story is aspirational, and you may not be able to, yes, in 10 years, you will accomplish all this. No, the big picture ideas are where you're headed towards. Now, where we will be very specific, this is after this conversation, my team starts developing the policies and strategies. And the policies and strategies are concrete. Those are going to be things that you can accomplish in 10 years' time. We don't want to be putting down strategies onto this paper that are not realistic, that are beyond the capacity of staff, beyond the capacity of the community, because what would be the point of that? So it's the strategies where we really get down to that level of, all right, this is the big picture. It is the goal. And here are the specific things we're going to do to get closer to that over the next 10 years. So that's how we are approaching this. Please.
Not real. I mean, are we through with the main big capital pieces? Everybody's through with that. I was gonna talk about the overarching goals. And you had 3 here. I thought that was interesting. Picked out 3 things. What was it? Balance, right?
Resilience.
Resilience.
Coordination.
And I didn't get the coordination, maybe a different word or something. Coordination to me, something else. I don't, that's more important. But, so kind of alignment with bigger documents, statements.
Yeah, maybe coordination is not quite the right word, but that's that place where we, I mean, that is one of those requirements of this plan.
Right.
And that's another thing that we should, a lot of what we're using to build this plan is based on what we've heard from the public. We
Yep.
also have legal requirements for what this plan must include. So that would be an example of every POCD has to demonstrate how it's consistent with the state POCD, with your regional POCD.
But Steve said maybe synergy or something.
Yeah, synergy can be a better way of saying it.
Something like
Mhm.
would
Is
be
there-
good.
Is there a way we could color code those state requirements? Because a lot of times people do question like, well, is that required or is that more of a want? Or is that something that the town's doing or is that something that the state's doing? And so even if it's, you know, you get a little legend and it's an asterisk or it's a different color text where it just alerts people that this is here because we are required to put it here.
Yeah, footnote.
Little something.
Something
that-
call it out in the
Yeah,
document.
and I think that also provides due weight to some of the choices that, you know, are made. Not a problem in Groton, but I can imagine other communities who struggle with open space when they see, oh, we have to start setting aside for open space to meet a state requirement or whatever it might be. You know, they a little more friction there when you realize that it's a state issue and
Sure. And there are certain things we need to be choosy about how we do that because there are a number of things in the state law that are general. Like you shall talk about providing housing that suits the needs of everyone in the community. So a lot of the law speaks in generalities,
Mhm.
but there are some very specific things might be worried.
I mean, for those instances, could we use language like, in order to meet the statutory requirement for providing housing that meets whatever affordability?
Mhm.
I don't know the exact,
Sure.
right? You can use some language to couch it. Oh, sorry, I'm a boring person too, okay?
Thank you, bad person.
Just a boring one. Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin.
I have a question on, you have community stewardship here, and I thought that was an interesting concept because I've been involved with, stewarding various open space property,
Okay.
mostly personally, but it's kind of like, wow, the idea that you would have stewardship from the community, and I didn't know if you have or what you're thinking in this or.
Well, tell me where that was specifically, so I.
I'm sorry, it's in chapter goals #2, but it's kind of a theme that goes throughout the rest of pages too. And it's something too that came up the other day at a conversation I was having, how Park and Recs, they have all these nice properties now and everything, and greater facilities and all, but the stewardship is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Stewardship is a huge challenge for land trusts
Absolutely.
and so on. It's kind of like, I thought maybe you were thinking of something.
So I was thinking, in this context, it was, step one, conserve the land. But if you end there, that's not enough. So that making sure that there are volunteers in the community or organizations or the town government, they're all working together to work on the long-term stewardship of properties that they're maintained properly. Real tough. Oh, real tough. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is how we're trying to weave a lot of the, I think Jeff had brought up about some of the current issues, current topics. We're hearing, we've heard, whether it's the lack of open space or recreational resources in District 4. We've been hearing from a lot of people about the problems of stewardship, things with housing, things with economic development, things about design standards in certain commercial corridors. These are going to be, we have to weave them in to all of these pieces and start to find what are those implementation actions throughout the document. We just, again, tonight, we want to make sure the outline putting together what you're looking for. And all this is helpful, but we don't want to get too far into the weeds. We want to get that feedback of, do you like the general outline that we're putting in here? Again, knowing that we're thinking about things, not just 10 years, but what we can implement 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 years out in the future. All that needs to get woven into this.
But I think we're leaving some of this stuff, or at least what the real objective of the document is. We're getting into how the government works. I don't think we should be talking in this document about that. This was the goal. Or do we need another plan for that? But for things like maintenance, that's the government's job. Unless we want to have a statement. Has to maintain their properties, but you're almost encroaching on town council responsibilities.
the town council will look to this document to implement those things.
Yeah.
But we can, we're recommending
You're getting into politics.
necessarily. I mean, Conservation Commission will look to this, as will open space groups. They can use it to apply for grants, saying this is recommended.
That's-
And so
fine.
it's not going to call out town council, you must do X, Y, and Z. It will probably be a general goal that there may be a number of different agencies can implement.
Right, and again, we're not gonna put anything in this plan that the leaders of that strategy are not supportive of. So if we had something in here that said the town council should explore blah, and the town council president says, no, we're not doing that, then that's not gonna end up in a
I
plan.
do it today, tomorrow they may not.
Sure,
That's why I think you gotta be careful of
Something.
staying out of things that are purely the government, state funding type issues.
At the end of the day, a lot of this gets into government and funding, where we're directing resources. I mean, something that I've been hearing about for the whole time I've worked here is how we need an aquatic center, aquatic park in town. And, you know, we talked about that, I think, a year or so ago before the council. Price tag on that, 20, 30, $50 million. That's not their highest priority right now. They're directing, you know, money
Well, I
for Parks and
understand.
Rec, but we at least have to state, we don't want to ignore what the community has said is important. So I think that's, we gotta weave that in.
Right.
Crucial.
Well, we had a bonding referendum several years ago over a swimming pool. And everybody wanted it. Put it to the ballot. Nobody wanted to pay for it.
Well, I think we need to take a breath because we just got all new schools. So, we got all new school, and our schools are refreshed, they're great, so we'll take a breath and then we'll come back and move.
Well,
saying
you're getting a
it's,
referendum on
Just
athletic
saying
fields
what's
this year.
happening.
Right, that's right, one thing at a time.
So back to the goals.
Yeah.
The plan and the outline. And we can get into a lot of these issues, the nitty gritty. The next one, chapter by chapter.
exactly. So just to give you, I'll jump ahead for a second, just so you know what our hope is. So if you're generally comfortable with this structure, the plan would be to come back starting in August. We'd host a series of special meetings on the last Monday of the month at 5:30 here. And the goal would be to go through 2 chapters per meeting, about an hour each. So you get all the information in advance and you get a chance to, flag what you have an issue with. They give you a little homework assignment to say, yes, I'm fine with this one. And if everyone's generally fine with something, we move on and really just focus our time on the policies and strategies that might be more controversial. We're also going to be flagging those for engagement with the public. So we'll be keeping track of, hey, these are things that, I don't know, how does it feel about this? And we'll do a series of mini surveys for each of the chapters. So you can find out how the public feel about these things before you make a decision. The goal would be to get through 2 of those a month. We'd come back in November to try to consolidate everything, tie up loose ends, take a break in December, come back in January to discuss the implementation matrix. So to your point, how we're seeing this, each chapter would have the goals and strategies related to that chapter right there in the chapter. And then we'll also have another document that has all the policies and strategies together. And it would be sortable and something that would be more of a tool that staff and you all can use to track progress over time.
One request though.
Of course.
Because housing is such a big thing. I don't know if we ever had a session to talk about the coin studies
Okay.
and ask questions and everything. I just don't remember, maybe I was out of town or something. But,
We had a
and then,
presentation on those studies that they had done, and that's something we want to dive into deeper. So a couple components, one, the POCD stuff, but in short order, so the missing middle housing project.
right, that's why I was thinking we would have that also at the same time.
So that's gonna start getting woven into some of this.
Okay.
So I think let's circle around with Jeff and the Coin team, because they're doing some more data analytics, not only looking at, but also looking at the surrounding communities as part of that project. So we'll have some really cool numbers and stuff that we get a better sense of where we are now in the future.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, they will also be here for one of the sessions in the fall as well. And if you want to have that conversation earlier, we can, have them as part of the August or September conversations.
Don't know how you're gonna approach something like the topic, getting around without a car. That one I really like, because having an electric car and knowing that certain people are putting out electric taxis for almost nothing, or Uber type things, I was wondering how, you don't really approach it as I come today, but sure, what's possible. And that, when you look at I'm sorry, but going on here about the bus system, every time I look at a bus, it seems like they're empty and they're never going where I want to go, but if you had some sort of electric car or whatever, they could be on demand, and especially for some people that really need transportation to medical or whatever. I don't know if anybody's done that for a solution, but some of this is like, okay, it's not gonna happen this year. Maybe the technology's not quite here, but maybe in 2 years or something.
Yeah, and some of it's technology, some of it's, you're continuing to invest in your sidewalk network, and your bicycle, network and your trails. So some of it is things you can continue doing immediately, and others are more future.
That's what I think we ought to put in a big parking garage right at the intersections of 95, and then issue golf carts for everybody.
But see,
There are communities that literally do that.
That idea, Jen.
can we bring back the trolley line?
No, yeah.
Sure, I would do it. Yeah.
I almost think that's, it's, if somebody's gotta get from this side of town to that side of town, and there's no public transportation, a car is required.
Of course.
I'm sorry.
Right, it doesn't have to be your own private vehicle.
Only car.
But I mean, to just
Not, this,
lessen
but a car.
car dependency in general, I mean, are we looking at how we'd want to change zoning to make those little 15-minute neighborhoods a little bit more feasible with how we're zoned?
And see, that's part of it too, right? If you have more neighborhoods where people can meet their daily needs.
Yeah.
On foot, that reduces the need for a car.
James Street, right? And it's all your shops on the first floor, everyone living above it. And that's how it's always been, right? Until suburbia planning, and now it's not like that. We're very segmented.
But even some suburbia, Levittowns were planned around a shopping center that would fill your needs.
Right.
If they had better, their golf carts, then those would have worked in Levittown. It just didn't evolve that way, and then people worked way elsewhere. But the technology might save us. I don't know what we can do about it here. I think you're having a little electric automatic jitneys coming at your beck and call, like an Uber, might save the day, because we're not going to have that kind of density, be able to have a real bus line.
That's right.
Yeah. And so
That's exactly.
Subway.
the representatives from Bowman will be here to talk through specific ideas for related to transportation and transit with you.
We were on vacation in Malta, which is very dense,
Mm.
right? They had tremendous bus system.
Mm.
Going where lots of buses, clean, efficient, but sometimes the bus wasn't quite right. You could call up an Uber type thing there, and we never waited more than 2 minutes.
Oh, sure.
And it was like $5. And so I was like, it's good to see somebody else being successful.
Well, seniors in Groton have a service like that.
Yeah.
We can just pick up and call something.
That's
No, it's true. And there have been studies done that in some service areas, to subsidize Uber for the community would be far more cost effective than running a bus.
My other
So
point.
yes, we will talk about specific strategies related to transportation.
Can I ask a process question?
Yes.
Yeah. But generally what happens, we do a chapter or two at a time, and it's done in a series of a lot of documents like that, like this. I kind of like think about documents as rather than first do chapter 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then we by the end of 6, you wish 2 look different.
Sure, sure.
So the idea is being no, here's the whole document and it's foggy and I keep tightening it up.
Mhm.
With that in mind, yes, we have to go through chapter at a time, but do you guys work off of like a cartoon version of the whole thing? Say, here's the whole thing, and here's where an illustration is going to go, here's where a map's going to go, here's where something's going to go. It's already there, and you just keep filling it in. Do you do it that way? Can,
I can do it that way.
because that way the whole document.
That's what
Right.
this really
So that
is.
exactly.
Like, we're gonna be developing the content as an outline with more details
Right.
of, putting together all of the key takeaways that we heard through public engagement. So we'll be doing a more detailed outline and then developing the actual text and full draft from that.
Right.
So it will be like, the kind of furniture that you put together, like an IKEA shelf or something, where you put all the nuts and bolts and screws in, and you have to tighten this a little bit and that one, and you're tightening each one a little bit at a time.
Right.
Until it all comes together. So it'll be like that. And right now, we're just really looking at,
I can see where you're kind of going.
yeah,
But what's kind of
this to
interesting is
understand,
to see like,
like, are we
almost
organizing?
almost the whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay, now it's only this big because it doesn't have any illustrations. and
No,
cards,
no.
But there would be a little box that would tell us this is what's going on.
Yeah, so what-
Part that's going
What
on.
you will get when we have these conversations is, here's a bulleted list of here are the major points we're gonna make. Here's what we heard from the community. Here are the maps you can expect. Here are the graphics you can expect. And here are the list of policies and strategies. So you'll get a packet from the chapter that explains that. And I fully expect all of those to be ready by the time we meet at the end of August. So it really just depends on your personal preference for how you want to review and process this information. If you want to say, give it all to us, it'll be a lot, give it all to us, and then we have it, and all those things are in the back of our mind for discussing others. Totally happy to do that. So really, it's just a matter of how we can break this down to be efficient for you and effective for you.
That I think that might work, and you can kind of see where we're at in relation to
Right.
everything else.
And we can stress
Sure.
chapter 2, chapter
Sounds
3,
good.
but in the framework.
Hey, you know what's coming in the other. Sure, absolutely. So yeah, we don't want to overwhelm you, but if that would be helpful, then by all means, we can do that.
And to maybe overwhelm you, if something that you want to do, we might be able to have longer sessions. We start earlier in the day. We want to, I don't know, do we do a whole Friday? Do we spend 8 hours with all of this stuff where all of our brains gonna be mushed by the end of it? We could get a lot done in something like that. Want to take big bumps on it. We'll just have to plan those in advance so I can, tackle all of their time as part of it. But if we want to do some bigger sessions to get more done, we could do that too. But it all really depends on your availability. We can work around that. If you would find that helpful, because it is, difficult to say, all right, chapter 1 and 2, great, got it done. Well, no, because things that come up in chapter 5 and 6 are going to impact that. Now, that's something us and the HW and the rest of their team are going to be aware of. And we'll go back and look at those documents. And the amount of times that we will edit this stuff is going to be a lot. And knowing that we're going to hear some of these things, but at the end of the day, you are the group that has to adopt this, knowing that we have to ensure it's consistent with state law and so those, guidelines and other things of what we have to follow. We're going to do our best to kind of pull this together. And if some longer sessions interest you, we can look at doing that.
Jeff, you want 7 or 7:30?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I gotta work out.
You okay with longer?
What?
Longer sessions?
Not 8 hours, but
Longer than 2 hours?
Longer than 30 minutes?
Yeah.
I could probably
But
commit to like
picking
a
up-
4:35 start until 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll meet at a bar. Okay. Sorry.
Time is this ending?
So I had planned until 7, but we can stay longer. It's entirely up to you.
Oh, you're just saying until.
Good idea.
What? I'm sorry, what was the?
That John's
I can
idea
stay till
was,
7, right?
was
So-
good. I think there's a lot of us indicate we could commit to.
Okay, so, I mean, I know we're not there yet, but we were
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
talk to you about a schedule, a tentative schedule for
Right.
these types of workshops. Jeff already mentioned last Monday of each month, we've already got them on the feedback, we're ready for you all. We can start at 4:30, if that works for us, and maybe schedule it until 7:30 and see if it lasts.
Sure.
And then maybe the next time it's 8:30, we can just kind of play by
Like
ear.
build some dirt.
I think it's a good idea because so many themes too. Or we can give you all our comments.
And yeah, to the extent that,
So can we submit the comments? Like I read like Diane's comments, but I didn't have
Yeah.
the ability to really read them through. Because she
Right.
provides that type of experience.
Yes.
Work.
I'll have to read them again.
Right.
'cause I-
So is there any value for us to have it a few days before and then send you the comments?
yes.
Right.
So that's what I was about to say. If you're willing to do homework, and that would allow us to flag, hey, these are the things, multiple of you are like, I'm concerned about
Right.
this. And then we prioritize those things for our conversation. Because if we treat everything equally and go line by line,
Yeah,
you know, that
but I like that idea.
your eyes are gonna all be glazing over. But if we
Yeah.
say, all right, we all generally think that these things are fine, so let's focus on these other things. That would be great. So then, yes, we would get you, I don't know, maybe put into a spreadsheet format, and you could mark off, I'm fine with this, I don't like this at all, or I have questions about this that I would like to talk about with the group.
Think about this. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe like that.
Yeah.
For the next meeting, maybe if we're gonna have that longer session, if everybody's on down like a Red Bull or something.
Or two.
No.
Great idea.
But I know several of you wrote some things out. Is there anything that, any thoughts that you had had or had written down, related again to the structure that we presented to you that you would like to make sure we know today?
Overall, I would say, even though it's kind of scattered at this point or chopped up, but it really had a focus on the people and I thought, the families and the situations. So that was really good. I mean, I didn't get that, reading the 2016 or other ones.
Sure.
It still had the important things like resiliencies in there, definitely, and stuff like that.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Having
Yeah.
a focus on resiliency in each chapter as opposed to just a chapter dedicated to resilience?
Oh,
I know you
absolutely.
like it.
No, I think that's a great way to go.
Okay.
I am,
Some of them won't have a lot to it, but,
right.
but it needs to be. Each thing.
Yep, yep.
I like the idea of all of the sections being as cross-disciplinary as they can.
Sure.
Like, I don't think any of them should really be in a silo, so.
Sure. Great. And I know Mr. Pritchard is probably not the biggest fan of this, but we did add that last chapter. And this is something that we have seen a number of other communities that we've worked with include, where you start laying out some goals for basically the first part of our conversation tonight. Changing the way you communicate with the public. And by you, I mean the town government. And you know, what that means for investments in your website, what that means for community engagement efforts. So that's something that, you know, is non-traditional for a POCD, but it is something that we've seen more and more communities diving into it because you are making this effort around community engagement. We thought it would be appropriate to have a place for that to live in the POCD.
So specifically dollars associated with what we need to grow.
Not necessarily dollars, no. I mean, again, this is not a budget. This is, you know.
I get that.
Yeah.
But what are you specifically saying that we need to put in there?
Just comments about, so here, it's
Yeah.
chapter 6.
Right.
So communication, community engagement, along with implementation and future land.
Okay, I got
No.
it. Thank you.
So just a place for those topics to
Yeah.
land.
And those are things that, I mean, I think you've all seen, we've been spending a lot of time on that the last couple of years because frankly, we haven't been doing a great job on it, or the only time people show up is when decisions have already been made or we're so far to the end line, so close to the goal line. How do they not know about it? Right. Well, it's in the P O C D, then we have to do something, and developers talk about this, and we want to get to people sooner, and we are, as most governments of our size, are ill-equipped from a, community engagement outreach to really get that word out. And that's something, these have changed the landscape of how things are done, and how people communicate, phones. So we got to do a better job of that. And it is something that without good community engagement, the best laid plans that we have are works.
I was kind of thinking, there's a different slant, and this will be very quick, but as I was looking at these things, some of them I was thinking there are zoning solutions to a lot of these problems, something needs to be tweaked, added, or, reconsidered, classes of land or whatever. Some of them seem to be budget solutions, maybe transportation or emergency housing or things like that. I mean, you have to have money, unfortunately, to do. And maybe some of the others, like I was talking about, with volunteer solutions. And as I go through this, I'm trying to think of what's gonna really solve this, or what's gonna make it happen. I think there's probably a lot more, but I just got started trying to think, how do we make this happen? Who's gonna be responsible? And it'll be us, I think, on a lot of cases.
I mean, a lot of it comes down to money and how do you spend your money, you set the
Right.
priorities.
Exactly. Or you get some more,
Yeah.
you tweak your zoning.
Really choosing the direction of where things should go.
Well, if you agree on the direction. yeah,
No,
how-
that's what this.
Yeah, that's right.
document is.
It's exactly.
It's a
right.
guidance.
And it actually has more targeted directions, I dare say, than I've seen in the other. I think the POC is a little more mushy.
A lot of it is just developing new plans.
Well, yes. Sometimes it is. Those are valid. Developing a plan for something is a valid strategy sometimes.
But I don't see anything in here that talks about trying to get new businesses moving into town, which I think is very important.
Yeah, so that,
We're looking at
We'll
it.
get there.
look at that, that's,
Well, I don't know how to do it, but I mean, accomplish.
that's chapter 2, or chapter 3, rather. Yeah, again,
Economic development, chapter 3.
ta-da. Yes, that's where that conversation will live.
A lot of people, the stores have to prepare something that you can get a profit on, that is outside. You don't want to just have.
Yeah, you don't just want to have, rely on the service industries for, yeah, sure.
Creation.
With regard to the basics here of, is this the right order of things? I'll throw this to people. Your statement, or how to use or navigate the plan without. How to use this document. Should that be maybe just the second, what is 2035? That's fine, you have to say what it is. Next thing you want to know is, what am I doing with this stuff? I just look at that from the point of having had to pick up. You see the building code. And the first thing he's looking is almost the very beginning, is how to use it. And one of the things you do is you turn to the back. Something that's just kind of the way it's used is an out of order thing, because that's what everybody wants to know. What am I doing? So maybe that is the absolute second thing.
Sure.
After very short, what is 2025? And if you don't really care, you're just leafing through it, then you skip over that.
Sure.
I think that's how to use, that's the instruction book.
Yes, right up front. Anything that seems, again, glaringly missing at this point, or things you want us to be aware of as we start diving in?
Need another week to think.
Of course. And again, take your time, think about it, send any additional thoughts to Deb. That will get compiled and sent to us. And the next couple months will be busy drafting, so you should have some solid stuff to start reviewing. Again, the goal to have most, if not all of these chapter templates, as we described it, ready to share with you for that first meeting at the end of August.
Super. Okay, great. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Anything else?
Everybody's good with the last Monday, right? And it's scheduled for you all to have a account.
Okay, thank you.
The record, it's a pain for me, but I'll do.
Very good.
Thank you, Hal.
All in dance class.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Oh.
It's keeping me alive.
Oh, it's my-
I mean, would we be able to?
All-
Depends on what the
What's
schedule
good?
is, like, if we're all meeting on Tuesdays.
Yeah, Matt,
That's
So like during-
first Monday. then like-
Ability for people-
Okay.
are we officially ending this?
Why wait to bed?
Yeah.
In fact,
In fact, here's an idea. If we could make it the first Monday of the month.
Nope, it's Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
All right, what else? We got 30 days to choose.
That's, I know, we were struggling with what's not,
Yeah.
Yes.
You can invite them.
Are we, in this meeting? Are we
Well,
voting
I'm
on-
just waiting till we're through with this conversation. I was gonna welcome a motion to adjourn. We could do that now, so. Still,
I make the motion.
okay, second, right, thank you.
We're done.
All in favor? Yes, okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Appreciate that. So I think dinner home. Wow, ballroom dancing.
Always.
That's
So exciting. How long have you been doing